Hello and welcome to this 10th part of the series on worship, and in this episode I want to look at accountability. Now, what I'm trying to get across here is that being in a church should be much more than just doing whatever your role is within the church. There is character and lifestyle to consider, and I would even go so far as to say that the job role is not the most important aspect of being in the church. Things like prayer and aiming for godliness are more important. Romans 14:12. So then each of us shall give account of himself to God. And note that well. There is accountability to God. You can easily fool me, but not so with God. And just ponder for a moment. Are you looking forward to being accountable to God? Why or why not? 2 Corinthians 5:9 and 10. Therefore we make our aim, whether present or absent, to be well pleasing to him, for we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that each one may receive the things done in the body according to what he has done, whether good or bad. Now, these two verses strongly suggest that there will be no one who bypasses appearing before the judgment seat of God or Christ. What exactly goes on at that time isn't clearly revealed in the Bible, but what is clear is that there will be an eternal outcome. And in secular speak, it's called heaven or hell. And that will depend on what we've done in our physical lives. I believe that knowing Jesus and being godly will be a tremendous advantage. But I am reminded here of a quite alarming part of a gospel. Matthew's in chapter 7, verses 21 to 23. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many wonders in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. Now, one aspect of these verses is that we can be busy doing lots of good Christian stuff, that we forget that it is actually doing God's will that we should be first seeking, not doing good things. It is easy to make doing good an idol, and to more or less ignore God. But it's not just for our actions that we shall be required to give an account for, but our spoken words as well. Matthew 12:36. But I say to you that for every idle word men may speak, they will give account for it in the day of judgment. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. In other words, watch what you say. Does it edify or pull down? Is it encouraging or condemning? Is it a lie? Is it gossip? Hebrews 13:17. Obey those who rule over you and be submissive, for they watch out for your souls as those who must give account. Let them do so with joy and not with grief, for that would be unprofitable for you. Now, anyone in a position of leadership will have an extra level of accountability with God. Or in other words, there is a higher bar to jump over for leaders. And accountability isn't just for Christians, it's for everyone. 1 Peter 4:5 is talking about lawless Gentiles. They will give an account to him who is ready to judge the living and the dead. And Matthew 7:3-5. Why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but do not consider the plank in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me remove the speck from your eye, And look, a plank is in your own eye. Hypocrite, first remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Now, God hates hypocrisy. What these verses are saying is that we really need to have ourselves sorted out before we should try and sort anyone else out. We can do this by examining ourselves and/or asking God to examine us. In the words of the psalmist in Psalm 139:23-24, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxieties, and see if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." So the writer of this psalm did not want God to find any wicked way in him, but if there was, to lead him back to the right path. And at the root of this is a healthy fear of being held to account, with the possibility of being judged as wicked. Now, a practical way of being accountable is in James 5:16. "Confess your trespasses to one another and pray for one another that you may be healed." And if you're going to follow through with this, make sure you confess your sins to someone whom you can trust. Confessing to a church gossip will ensure everyone knows about it. And with Chinese whispers, who knows what your sin might become. So that concludes this episode on the lifestyle of worship. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.